Did it hit record? It's recording. So, Michelle.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Oh, across the pond.
Exactly.
Yeah, we are in Utah where it's 10 o'clock in the morning here, and you are where?
I'm in North London, just outside North London. We're in the suburbs, and it's 4:10 in the afternoon. And it's kind of just starting to get a little bit spring. It's about 10 degrees outside, which we're in Celsius. So I don't know what that is for you.
Oh, I was going to say 10
Yeah.
degrees.
Yeah.
That's
We
like
totally
cold.
work in Celsius here pretty much all the time. So what is that, like 50 there? 50 or something?
Well, it's probably in the 40s right now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, here it's in that we're headed into spring as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Slowly. I can see.
Yeah. Not fast enough.
Lilacs are starting to swell and the roses and everything. So I'm a happy camper. I get my flowers soon.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we are so happy to do this member spotlight with you. We have just been so impressed with all of it that you're doing. I can't remember, how many months have you been a member?
Since December. I think I joined in December, originally as a basic. I think right at the end, maybe between, I'll tell you what, it was just after Christmas because my husband bought me a set of oil paints. Oh. And I'd looked at the website before and I thought, because up till then I'd been painting in acrylics, and I thought, there's no point because it's acrylics, it's completely different. And I'd kind of been thinking, maybe I should kind of give them a go and make the shift. And I had kind of dropped a little hint about the paints as well. So, so then, surprise, surprise, a lovely pack of oil paints arrived, and I was like, okay, so I know where I'm going to go to learn what to do with these. And then I watched a couple of the free tutorials, and then I think really quickly, I was like, okay, I want to kind of dive in a little bit more. And then actually that coincided with lockdown number 3 here. So I was like, okay, so I know I've got some time to really make the most of it. Yeah.
Well, that is wonderful. So you haven't been painting in oils. You've only been painting in oils for a few months.
Yeah, exactly. So I haven't painted. I mean, I painted at school and I loved art at school. And I think probably at the time, somebody had probably kind of said, probably don't pursue this kind of thing. And so I think
we've all
yeah. So I think I thought, well, I probably didn't have the confidence to push to kind of go and study it further at the time. So I just kind of went off on another path, and I haven't painted for years. And when I suppose after I left school, after I left college, I kind of went to a few workshops and stuff, but nothing very much, really just occasionally. And I sort of forgot about it. You move out of home, you have no space, you have no money, and just kind of forgot about it. And then last year, of course, COVID happened and we found ourselves in lockdown. And I think for the first couple of weeks, I was kind of treating it a bit like a holiday because I was like, it'll just be a couple of weeks and then it will be back to normal. And of course that, it didn't turn out like that. So the first thing I kind of did was try and set myself up with working from home. I'm a Pilates instructor. So that was a whole thing of trying to. So this is actually kind of the part-time Pilates videoing room up here as well. And so I kind of got that sorted, I suppose, in a couple of weeks. And I got back into gardening. I like gardening. So, also it was spring, so it was a great time to do gardening. And then I got to the point when I was like, well, there's only so much Pilates I can teach. And so many times I can water the garden, like I must have another hobby. And I was like, I used to quite like painting. So I kind of dug out my ancient, by then, 25-year-old box of hard, cracky old acrylics, which I thought might have still worked, but didn't. So I ordered some, actually a very cheap set of acrylics, because I remembered before, kind of, I had this memory of fumes with oils, as a thing that put off, and because I paint in the house as well. So I got some acrylics and I started painting, and that was probably, I guess, about last April, May time, I started again. And I think within a day, the first thing I painted was a goldfinch, because I'd been really enjoying seeing the little birds on the bird feeder and stuff in the garden. And, normally this is the first time, I think, ever in my adult life I've had a period at home for any length of time. So it was nice to kind of just kind of be at home and see a little bit the garden and see the birds and that kind of thing. So that was the first thing I painted. And within like a couple of weeks, I was like, okay, I'm diving back into this because it's just so much fun.
It is so much fun. It's so exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, totally. So I kind of started off with acrylics. And found, so I mean, I was amazed at how much online stuff, like there's so many great free tutorials and so much information out there. You can learn anything now, you know.
I learned how to build a website.
Yes.
YouTube videos.
We learned a lot by watching YouTube videos.
Yeah. So I started to follow some tutorials and things, and I think I was kind of getting to the point where there was two things. I was getting a bit frustrated that I couldn't quite get what I wanted with the acrylics, and also I was getting like there's loads of great information out there and there's loads of great tutorials, but they're not really tutorials. They're follow-alongs. Here's a photo. I'm going to show you how to paint this. And what I was finding was that I was wanting I can follow along and I can copy and I can do what you say and I can get a thing at the end that I'm quite happy with, but I don't know why I'm doing this. And if I want to make it look different, I don't know how to do that.
Right.
So I'd really started to look for something online that was more of like art school, that was more, or what I thought of as art school, you know, like actually teach me how and the why and the tools and what you guys do. I mean, it's just the most perfect. I'm so delighted that I found you because it's just the most perfect course. It's fantastic.
Well, we're happy you found us too.
So, well, how did you find us?
You know what? I'm not sure. I think it must have just come up on Instagram, and it must be, you know how super clever all of these algorithm things are, where you like one person and it shows you something else that's similar. And I think it must have just popped one day because maybe I follow some of the same people that follow you or whatever. And like I say, the first time I looked, and I was still working in acrylics, so I was kind of like, you know, that's not really, I'm not sure it's really suitable. So I'm so pleased that it did come up and I did find you. Yeah.
Well, and hopefully, I think the way we teach actually can apply to any medium.
Yeah.
I mean, in oils, but it's
the principles of art.
Totally, yeah. I mean, all the concept lessons and the art history and everything else, I think is totally applicable. And I've learned so much. It's been lovely. It's really been the thing that I've been looking for.
That makes it. We work our butts off, and
I bet you do.
And this is a good day because I've already received 2 emails from people saying how much they love the site and our friendship, and so now with you, it just makes it. It's just that's why we do it. That's why we do it.
We teach it the way we would want to have learned it back in the day when we were first learning.
And I think that really shows, that really comes through because it's all so relevant. And I mean, I just learn something every time I watch a video. I learn something, but something really useful, and it sticks. Good. You know, and it's something you can keep coming back to.
Yeah, you can keep going back, especially the concept lessons. I think you can keep going back and back and back with those concept lessons and take something from that and apply it to anything else that you want to do.
Yeah.
The way our brain works, we can't just pour all of this information at once into our heads and expect to retain it.
Yeah.
I can remember I studied with Mary Jo Lazier, who's a master decorative artist. Anyway, I studied with her for about 15 years, and she said something probably one day later on, you know, after studying with her for 10 years, and she said something and it just clicked. And I said, "Oh, Mary Jo, you had never said that before." And she says, "Liz, I said it every single time you were here. You just weren't ready to hear it, and now you know." So.
Yeah, I think there's certainly something to be said for that kind of layering of information, because when you find something new, you want everything at once. Yeah. You know, you want to know everything at once, and you kind of want to shortcut the process a little bit, but you just can't. You just can't. You can only learn what you can learn, kind of based on what you know now. You know, it's
It's just like anything else, building a house, learning how to
Yeah.
play piano. You have to start with the foundation and
Yeah.
work your way up.
Yeah.
Well, so tell us, what are your goals in art? What are you looking to achieve?
Well, I'd like to be better.
As we all are.
I think I've been thinking about that a bit recently, and I think I would love to try to start to sell some things, start to sell some paintings, and I've sold a couple, and I think because if I can, then it kind of justifies me spending more time doing it. It's really just an excuse to spend even more time and money on it.
That's exactly why people decide this is going to be a job, because number one, they don't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
They need the money to buy the supplies, and it's just kind of one foot in front of the other, and
Yeah.
we end up.
Yeah. So I've been thinking maybe about kind of setting up because I have a website for my Pilates work, so I want to kind of keep it separate, and I have put some things up for sale on, and we've got like a little UK arts and crafts website, but I haven't really had very much success through there. All the sales I've had have come through kind of friends of friends or things I've put up on Instagram and that kind of thing. So I kind of feel like the next step maybe is to think about having a website and kind of being in control of it myself a little bit more.
Have you did you watch the product review on the FAZO account, the Fine Art?
Yeah, I did, and I wondered how applicable that was to European or UK kind of market, and how kind of global it is with the people that it sends, because it sends out marketing emails and things like that, doesn't it? Because I was looking at it because it seems that you can either just go there and they help you build your website, or they've got templates and things.
Yes.
But then kind of the other side of it is the sort of the marketing arm where they help you to grow your business. And I was wondering how applicable that kind of business growing section of it was to Europe. And, if it's only really people that are signed up a US base, then it's not super helpful unless I just use them as the kind of website template kind of side of the business.
We'll reach out and ask them how much.
Okay, cool.
I think they have
gone worldwide,
but we'll have them reach out to you and answer.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
About that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
We've both been with them. I've been with them
a lot longer than I have.
A long time, since probably in the first year or two that they started.
Yeah.
Because it's just so much easier. Oh, it's so much easier. They give you the database, they give you all the templates. It's just so much easier than coming up.
Yeah.
With WordPress.
Okay.
So what's a typical painting day for you like?
So at the moment I get to paint loads because I'm not really working very much. Everything pretty much here is still closed. The only things that are open are supermarkets, really essential retail. So all non-essential retail is closed. Gyms are still closed. The kids went back to school last week. And we're due to have our first kind of level of opening up, which will be gyms and non-essential retail, I think on the 12th of April. So then I'll start to go back to work. So at the moment I'm teaching from home in the mornings, and I tend to paint in the afternoons. So if I can get finished and up and painting by about 2, then that's good. And then I'll, if I'm not painting, I'll be thinking about painting and maybe looking.
Welcome to our world.
And it's amazing how much time I can spend just kind of thinking about it. I actually at the moment, I try to paint every day, even if it's just for an hour, just for kind of practice. Because I think the more I do it, if I can do it every day, then that really
part of it.
Yeah, it really helps. It really helps me, I think. And I'm a real believer in like practice. I really think we can all do. I don't know what's wrong with my throat. I think I'm just so excited. I'm a real believer in we could all really do whatever we wanted to do. Talent, I think, is sure in a teeny percentage of people.
It's very limited.
But it's what you want to do, and it's how you choose to spend your time and energy. So Yeah, I try, and at the moment I mean, having said that, I haven't actually painted today, and I didn't paint yesterday because I kind of had other stuff going on, but generally I'll try and paint every day, even if it's just for a short time. But I love having a painting on the go, because I find I'll wake up in the morning, I'll be like, oh, right, now I know what I need to fix, and I'm going to try and, you know, da, 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 da. So it's been it's actually been a really big shift for me to go from acrylics to oils, because I think when I was painting in acrylics, I kind of felt like I wasn't very good at painting. So acrylics were easier because it would just dry and I could just like go right over the top and no one would ever know what was underneath. And so it's obviously completely different with oils because they take so much longer to dry. So you're fixing stuff in a very different way, which I think is making me a much better painter, because I'm thinking about it more before I start. I'm more, not necessarily more careful, because I'm not really kind of super slapdash.
You're
But
5 or 6 steps ahead of the game.
yeah,
what
yeah,
is going
yeah, exactly. Because you know you're going to have to kind of try and soften this edge, or you know, make the background work with the thing that sits next to it. And so how are you going to put the paint on now, depending on what you're going to try and do with it later?
Yes.
Which is which is so different from a painting with acrylics. But I've not touched an acrylic paint since I picked up my oils back in January. I'm completely sold.
That's how I started in watercolor.
Yeah,
you did
me
too.
Yeah, 12 years of watercolor for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I did acrylics for a number of years, and even
taught. Did you?
Yeah, this is in my early 20s, so like a whole nother lifetime ago. But when I picked up oils, that was it. That was yeah.
Watercolor, you have to really think 5 or 6 steps ahead too. Okay, I'm going to do this so that this comes under here, so that I can do this later. And every step of the way, you're thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead of where you're at.
Yeah.
Yeah, it keeps it interesting. It's like playing a chess game or doing a big jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, but oils.
And what do you find with watercolor that you would spend several days on a painting?
Sittings, large sittings, because I didn't want everything to get completely dry.
Yeah.
I like to work really wet on wet until about the last 20%. So the first setting was all keeping it wet and staying with it. And then maybe the next day or so, putting some glazes over the top and working back into it. Not as long as oils. I was usually a little faster than I am with oils.
So do you have a favorite lesson on the site? Is there one that just...
Well, I haven't watched them all yet.
I
must admit, I've dipped in and out a little bit, because when there's been things that I've wanted to paint, photos of mine that I've kind of tried to find a lesson that's similar.
Very good.
And then I've watched the lesson, and then I've tried to paint the photo. And then when I've kind of done that, and there's nothing immediate in my mind that I know I want to paint next, then I've gone back to the beginning and kind of worked my way. So every time I kind of, not necessarily have a block, but every time I've got like a little lull, I'll do the next lesson sequentially, even amid kind of jumping back and forth, which is, I think, is a really nice way to approach it, because it, you know, the information is sort of layered in a really useful way. So I would say to anyone starting, like, come in new to the site now, for sure do that. You know, if there's something you're desperate to paint because you've seen a lesson, you're like, maybe it's the nocturnes that brought you in, you know, do that, but then go back to the beginning and you know, work your way through, because there's so much in there. There's so much in there. And even the lessons that are described as one thing, there's so much other stuff in there. Like I just yesterday, Liz, watched your painting white video. And then there's all the extra stuff in there that is about backgrounds and all loads of other stuff other than about painting white. So even, I'd also say to people, even if you don't think you want to learn how to paint something that's white, still just watch it, because there's loads of there's all these little nuggets hidden everywhere. So yeah, I'm not sure. I loved the nocturne. I really loved the nocturne lesson.
It's relationships and it's comparison, being able to really make fine-tuned comparison.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed just that slightly different palette. And I really enjoyed the feel of it, like that dark quiet feel. I really liked that lesson. I painted, I think, two little ones and one larger one from that.
Good.
And I really love the sunflower lesson as well. So I tend to kind of go between the landscapes and the still life. They're both.
Yeah, I see the sunflower behind you and Shanna's dappled light.
And
Yeah.
like,
Love it. Absolutely love it. So there's also a painting up behind you on the leaning up against the wall.
Yeah,
Is that
that's-
one of
Oh
yours?
yeah, that's not mine. That's a painting that we have. That's an artist who was actually a friend of my husband's father. He's not famous at all. He's called Kepferman. I'll show you.
oh, that's
It's
beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
very,
we've
a lot
got,
of abstract shapes, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, and we've got another painting by him downstairs, which is completely different. It's a street scene. I think it's like, looks a bit like a Parisian street scene. And it's all kind of soft grays and it's beautiful. You wouldn't know it was the same artist. It's completely different. And that's the one downstairs is my favorite. That's why this one's up in the loft.
Well, we love that you collect art as well. That's
That's wonderful.
we all need art in our lives. That energy.
Yeah, I would be downstairs in the dining room because I've got a lot more of my kind of favorite bits down there, but it's just chaos because my husband's working from home and the dog's about to come back from daycare and
Life must go on. Right?
yeah, exactly.
So this is where you paint, though.
I paint downstairs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So up here is it's kind of our spare bedroom at that end, and then this is my kind of little Pilates. I can kind of show you a little bit there.
Oh, okay.
I've kind of pushed it to the side a little bit, and then I paint downstairs in the dining room. I've got one little end of the dining table. Yeah,
That's
very
nice.
compact.
Long, and it takes over your entire house.
Yeah.
So I know you're very
Yeah.
interested in the art history lesson. You've commented about how much you appreciate that.
Yeah.
What artists, deceased artists, are you inspired by?
I think Monet
Yeah.
was the first kind of person that I really became aware of as an artist. And there are some of his, I've just spotted, I've got one of his books up here. And there's a couple, there's like two. It's a shame because this book, this is one of my most favorite paintings of his, and it's a tiny, tiny picture. It's called The Main Path Through the Garden at Giverny. And I don't know, I'm going to hold it right up close. Can you see?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And it's so beautiful and it's so colorful. And then
Have you been?
yeah, a really long time ago when I was like 23 or something, and I didn't really appreciate it. I don't think. I would love to go again.
We've painted in the garden. We've been.
Oh wow.
In the
That was
garden.
amazing.
Yeah. It's pretty
Yeah.
believable.
Yeah. Yeah, my mum's got a lot of books about Giverny. My mum's really into gardening and she's got a lot of books about Giverny. I mean, it's just, it was all, he had it all dug, didn't he? He had the lakes dug just for the, I was going to say watermelons, water lilies, aren't they?
You probably some watermelons.
And I'm going to show you this one because this is another one of my like absolute.
Oh, beautiful.
That is beautiful.
I
It looks
don't
like your
know
dad
if
was
I've
right.
seen that one before.
Yeah.
It's called The Forest of Fontainebleau and it's 1865. But I just love the light on the floor, on the ground. Just beautiful. Yeah. So Monet I love, and I look back through this book so often. George Innes, maybe that's how I found you guys, because I was looking for tonalism.
Yes.
Yeah, and I came across him only like maybe a year or two ago. I suddenly kind of found something on him somewhere. And paintings, I think there's one called Harvest Moon,
Yes.
which I absolutely love.
George is a life-changing moment to see.
It's just, yeah, I mean,
Changes everything.
I didn't know anything about the American tonalist movement at all. I mean, at all. So,
Uh,
so
Turner,
interesting.
Turner was kind of tonalist in his own color, in his
Yeah,
own kind of way.
yeah, 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 he was. Um, and I suppose Michael Klein I've just found recently, and his flowers are
Yeah,
just beautiful.
yeah, they are.
Um, there's so many people. Scott Gallatley is someone I've only come across recently on Instagram, and the colors are just lovely. And
Did you know that he worked for Gamblin and
oh,
he
really?
developed all their colors and their mediums, and
Ah,
he knows his pigments inside
yeah.
and
No
out.
wonder that lovely turquoise in his paintings.
Oh yeah.
They need to get that color out.
His abstract paintings are incredible. I love his sensitivity to color.
Mm.
So do you have a painting friend?
No, no, I don't. Not yet. As soon as things start to open up here, I'm going to try and find a local art group.
Oh,
Um,
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there must be one. We were thinking of moving house this year, or last year actually, until of course COVID happened, and so we've put the plans on the back burner for now. So we might try and do that this year and just kind of get out of London a little bit more in the countryside, a little bit further, sort of north up the country. Yeah, I'd like to find a local group to paint with and kind of go out and do some plein air painting, because I've never really done painting outdoors. So I want to give that a go.
It's wonderfully frustrating.
Another something else that's frustrating.
Pick and choose information, but to be there, that feeling of being there comes through in your painting, and it's just it warms your heart. You'll love it.
I only go because of Shanna.
But you like it when you go.
I do. We have fun. But like, I'm about 20 minutes into the painting and I'm wishing I had my flowers. You know?
You're wishing you had your flowers.
I'm wishing I had the flowers.
Well, we do have a story. We took a workshop together. One of the very first times we ever spent time together was in a Matt Smith workshop down in Tucson, Arizona, where there's all kinds of great big saguaro cactus. And
are they the ones like the cowboy cactus?
Yes. And we were both struggling with cactus, but I kept at it. I'm still painting the cactus. I look over at her and she is painting flowers.
I'm painting a still life
going
out of my head, because it was the last day and I am so over cactus. Nobody has any fear of me being the cactus queen. That's not gonna happen. And there was no flowers enough. I mean, the cactuses weren't even blooming. It was just like shades of green. It wasn't even pretty green. It was gray green, grayer green, grayer green.
The beautiful bead of lime green or cerulean.
Anyway, Matt Smith comes up and he looks at my canvas and he looks out at the landscape and he looks at my canvas and he looks at the landscape. I said, I give up.
I'm done.
I'm not painting cactus. It's funny.
Yeah, it was funny. He's a great teacher too. Yeah, he's very, very well known here in the United States.
Yes. So what else? Is there anything else you want to share? I can't remember the questions I sent you.
I have
Shanna's got her questions
right here. What is your favorite genre? Do you like, or do you have a favorite?
I like still life and I like landscape. I think kind of almost equally. They're a really nice kind of break from one another. Yeah. Like after I'd done all the nocturnes, I'd spent like 4 weeks painting darkness, and I was like, that's when I painted the sunflowers. Because I was like, okay, I need to get some brighter color paint out and do something a bit brighter and a bit different. But I really, it's like kind of, you read a book, you read something that's like really heavy, kind of biography or something, and then the next thing you want to read is chick flick.
Yeah, exactly. Something that warms the spirit. That's what happened to us all in March
of last year
when we were putting this together, right as COVID hit.
So did this come about because of COVID?
Well, no. we had already, it was
we were
on the
already in
back
the
burner.
works, but we weren't planning on launching it that soon, because we have normally we have one of our largest shows of the year in Great Falls, Montana in March, and so we were
Right.
gearing up for that show. This, you know, an art auction where millions of dollars change hands, and it's a lot of work, but
Everything canceled.
it canceled,
Everything.
and
All of our workshops, all of our
so
everything
we just
canceled.
sat down and said, okay, since everything's canceled, let's just
Get busy.
and get in and launch Inspired to Paint. So we busted our butt to get it.
But it's the same thing. We'd been depressed and worried, and the whole world is worried.
Yeah.
And we went to a greenhouse that was open.
Shanna always takes me to the greenhouse because she knows I've gone all winter without my flowers, and this cheers me up.
So you like, is that like a garden center, like what we call? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So we bought tons of flowers and put them all around one big table and placed our easels out and just started painting flowers. And it just lifts your spirit.
She did
just such a shift.
She did some amazing flowers.
It was really fun. Not amazing like
They-
hers,
no,
amazing.
they
But,
They were amazing.
but we're going to do it again too. We're going to film this time. We're going to film the whole thing, going and taking all the different, putting together different compositions and
Yeah, that's fun.
and have everybody join us.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun. But it does that little switch of dark color versus all of a sudden yellows and pinks and violets. Yeah. Changes your mood.
Yeah,
I
totally.
think yellow in particular is the color that brightens you up, brightens your mood.
Yeah.
We always laugh and say there's Liz yellow and then there's Shanna yellow, and they're completely different.
They are at that.
What other questions do you have?
Is there one or two things in particular that have helped your progress and given you confidence in your voice and your style?
Actually, there's so I was going through the painting on drawing on the right side of your brain book.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's even right at the beginning of the book, even before you get into the exercises, there's a thing where they have the same signature written in different ways, like it's 5 or 6 times, the same name but written in different ways. And then the book asks you to make assumptions about that kind of person based on the signature, on the handwriting. And it's not written by different people, it's written by the same person but in different ways. And so before I read the text, I was like, okay, what am I going to think about these? I kind of made myself as if I was kind of thinking, oh, you know, that person's going to be like, you know, I don't know, uptight or like really showy or, you know, extravagant or whatever. And then I read the text in the book. And actually at the same time, I was listening to a podcast called The Artful Creative, which is it's a really nice podcast. Carl Olson is the guy.
I'm the next one.
Oh, are you? Ah, okay.
Yeah, keep watching. I'm the next one.
I was thinking, because I've done the same thing. I've gone right back to the beginning with that and started from episode 1.
He's just interviewed some fabulous people.
Yeah. But I was thinking the other day, there's not been very many women on here so far. It's all like a bit of a boys' club. So are you the first girl on there? You're the first woman?
Actually, Jill Carver's on there.
Okay.
And she's very good. She's very interesting. But
okay.
Yeah, he's getting there. He's getting more women on there.
Yeah. So and there was an episode about, there was somebody talking about brushwork and the how you express yourself through your brushwork. And it really, having read this thing about the signatures, so it really made sense about how you put the paint down is going to affect how people feel when they look at the painting. And so that's really been something I've been trying to work with, because I've had a tendency, and I'm getting better at it, I've had a tendency to be a bit kind of holding at the end, right at the end of the brush. Yes. and being here with the canvas and the detail and stuff. And I'm getting much better at holding the brush differently on purpose and standing back. But one of the things that that really has made me think about is how I want people to feel when they look at the painting. And if I'm all like fiddly and with the brush, if I applied that same theory of looking at a signature, how would I read that signature? I'd probably read that signature as, oh, you know, they're really uptight, they can't express themselves, they're all
a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Yes,
exactly. And how I want people to feel when they look at my painting is I want them to feel free and like able to, you know, even if they're not conscious of it, they might go away and freely express themselves to say something amazing to someone or whatever. So I'm really trying to focus on how I lay the paint down and how, not necessarily how I feel when I lay it down. It's not about kind of channeling anything, although maybe it is subconsciously, I don't know, but it's definitely, I want to be lighter and, you know, just a bit freer with the way that I put the paint down, because that's how I want people to look at the painting and feel light and free and able to.
I love that. That's perfect. And it has to happen organically.
Yeah.
Happen as you're learning and as you're growing. You can't force yourself to do a certain kind of brushwork just because it's in style. It has to be you.
No, totally. And that really makes sense, because I'd done a painting, like an online painting course at the end of last year. It was like a 4-week type thing, and you could send your painting. It was a paint along thing. You could send your painting off to the teacher and they do a critique for you. And like twice I got this feedback saying you need to loosen up with your brush strokes. And I was like, well, I know I do. And this is why I'm coming to this. This is why I'm doing your lessons, because I want to learn how to do that. But just thinking, oh, I need to be looser didn't really make any sense, because when I tried to be looser, I was just slapdash. And then I was creating mess that I had to sort out, and I couldn't control the paintbrush. I couldn't do what I wanted to do. But then when I read that book, it wasn't about being looser. It was about, how do I want people to feel when they look at this paint? And so what do I need to do with my brush? And it's not about learning to do a this brush stroke or a licky stroke or whatever. It's about, how do I feel when I put the paint down? What feeling am I putting into this that I want to come out the other side, if that makes sense?
Beautifully
Totally.
said.
It's beautifully said.
Yeah.
In fact, so beautifully said that we need to make sure everybody sees this, because we get a lot of questions about brushwork, about that very same thing. And I think you've explained it eloquently as to how that can happen naturally.
The other thing is, I think some people think that, you know, you do one brush stroke and it's perfect the first time, and you move on from there. Where I studied with one person, and I love his work, and it looks effortless. Like every brushwork was effortless, and it was definitive and purposeful. And I said, and watching him paint, he painted very slowly. And it kind of took me back, because I just thought he was just mad dashing these brush strokes onto the canvas. But he says it's not about painting fast or, you know, making one brush stroke or whatever. It doesn't matter what the struggle is during the process. What matters is what it looks like in the end. And even though it took him a while to get to that look, point, that was what you got out of it, was that it just looked effortless, even though he says it's not. That was an epiphany for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you have
I think my epiphany was that my brushwork is replicating the way my brain is translating an item. And so if I want something to really stand out, my brain is seeing that object 3-dimensionally. So I want my brushwork to go behind that. And I'll hold my brush like it's behind. So what you see with my brushwork is actually how my brain is making those decisions in order to create that form. So it's almost like research more than it is anything.
Yeah. The other thing actually that's kind of in the same around the same subject, is when you did my critique, Shana,
Yes.
on the tree, on this one, on the tree.
Yes.
You said there's some areas, try and be a bit more confident, and you said get in and get out, get in, put some paint down thickly and get out.
Yes.
And that really, because I'm quite frightened, like when it's that thing, if you kind of paint something and you're quite pleased with it, and so the first thing that happens is you just try and do the same thing over and over again, and before you've got a whole painting that looks exactly the same.
Yes.
And then the other thing that happens is that when you've done something you're quite pleased with, then you don't want to mess it up, and then it's really scary to go in. Like, so I've really made myself try to use the palette knife and to go in with some thicker paint. So that was really, that get in and get out has stuck with me. That was really helpful as well.
On that same line, the same guy that I just mentioned, this is what he taught me, is that when we put down a stroke, we kind of automatically assume that it's wrong, because, you know, in the beginning, as we're learning, we're just always trying to make these corrections. But he said, put a stroke down, leave it, go somewhere else and put another stroke, and then come back and, you know, 5 minutes later, look at that stroke, because you'll see it as a new experience, and it might be a beautiful stroke, but if you just sit there and keep licking it, then you may have destroyed something beautiful, you know?
Yeah.
And then sometimes you do a part of a painting that is so perfect that it stifles you from doing anything more. And that's when you got to take it out. And that's the hardest thing of all to do is, but if you fall in love with one area so much that it takes away from the whole painting, then it has to go. And then you have to start working things back in again. And that's my biggest challenge when I have to take something out.
What else?
Let's see.
Well, what's that saying? There's a saying, isn't there, about nature hates a vacuum. So you take something out, something will come back in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. I've never heard that before.
True.
And I had a really nice saying yesterday as well, which is, and it was on the TV program actually, which was, everything needs a crack because that's what lets the light in.
I love that. Have you ever heard of the kintsukuroi?
Kintsukuroi.
I think that's how it's kintsukuroi. It's a Japanese art form. Like, they take pottery and it's cracked and they put it together and fill the cracks with gold.
Ah.
So the whole process,
the whole concept is
more beautiful for having been broken.
Ah, that's lovely. Yeah.
That's humanity.
It's all there for us, isn't it? We just need to listen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's when true art comes in, not with perfection, with the emotions of making decisions and pulling things together and making it feel differently.
And putting your heart and soul into it.
Mm.
Yeah. So who wants a perfect painting? Ugh.
Yeah. I would rather look at a painting that has a lot of emotions, but maybe not technically perfect, rather than a technically perfect painting.
Right. Absolutely.
They kind of lack emotion.
Where do you want to be in 5 years?
Oh, I'd like to be painting more. And I suppose as a general life goal, I'd like to be living in somewhere a bit more rural or nearer to the coast or somewhere more kind of closer to nature. I mean, we're really lucky here. We live very, very close to a very big park. So I really shouldn't complain. And we've got lovely trees around us and we can hear the birds and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'd like to be somewhere a bit more rural, and I'd like to be painting more and better.
I'm with you too. If it wasn't for Shanna being...
Yeah, so you make me laugh with the jets flying over.
Oh, Lord.
They started...
She's not laughing.
No. They're doing night flying now this week.
Oh, God.
And last night.
Yeah.
And they are loud. They are loud.
I bet.
I wish we were a little more rural, but we can, in 15 minutes, we can be up in the mouth of our canyon, of the canyon by us, and be gorgeous. Up in nature that's just amazingly beautiful.
Mm.
So, and yet we could not afford to buy a house up there.
No.
It would be outrageously expensive.
Utah's real estate as a whole has become
Outrageously expensive. Yeah.
Well, what else would you like to share with us about you before we end?
I think I don't think I have anything else that I need to, or I think I'm all out of everything, actually.
Did
Oh,
you
you know what? I have got a little quote, you know, because I was thinking about this, and things kind of, yeah. Anyway, so do you know Chick Corea, the jazz musician? Have you heard? He was a jazz musician. No. So he was this amazing jazz musician, and he died very recently. Incredible musician. And he knew he was dying. He had a form of cancer, I think, and he wrote a letter to his fans. And I kept I took a snapshot of the thing because it was really lovely. And part of the message that he wrote is, it's my hope that those who have an inkling, just an inkling, to play, write, perform, or otherwise, to do so. If not for yourself, then for the rest of us. And it's not only that the world needs more artists, but also it's just a lot of fun. And I think that's so important. Like, you know, we're creative, and whether it's painting or being a musician or, you know, pottery, whatever, gardening, whatever, you know, if it's even just
beautiful,
do it, because you're going to have a great time, and the rest of us need it.
Yes.
The rest of us need it.
It's so healing. We talk about this over and over and over again. Art is just, you're in the moment.
Absolutely.
You're enjoying it. Then you're putting it out for other people to enjoy it. You can't think about daily troubles when you're painting what you love to paint.
No.
I always say that, you know, all the great civilizations, why do we know about them? What do we know about them? It's from their art, their music, their literature, their paintings, the sculptures, the architecture. I mean, that's what has defined a society. Greatness, yeah.
And humanity.
Yeah, totally.
Well, you are a very accomplished painter, much more so than your time, than time would show. You have some very, very beautiful work.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. It's been delightful talking with you.
It really has. It's so lovely to meet you.
We have loved it. We love your enthusiasm and everything that you're doing. We just so appreciate it. So one last thing, do you have any advice for new painters just starting out?
Just do it. Get your brushes out, get your paints out, and try and practice. Yeah. And if you don't like it, try something else. And if you do, practice.
Yep.
Wonderful.
And have fun. Just have fun. Yeah. Dive in.
Yay! We do. Obviously, we do. We have a ball too.
Yeah.
I hope everybody enjoys painting as much as what we all enjoy painting.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Again,
thank you so much.
Wonderful
it's
talking.
A pleasure to meet
you. Yeah, you too. It's been really lovely.
Your enthusiasm is infectious, so thank you. So.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Talk to you soon. Bye. Bye.